Bumblebee, my freaky friends. Today's video is aiming to get the blood pumping and the heart racing since we're going to be checking out the top 10 creepiest historical locations you can visit today. Starting with the world's most dangerous hike, Mount Husashan. And because most dangerous hike wasn't enough of a title, this mountain has also been called the #1 most perilous mountain in China. What does that mean? A bunch of idiots with those individualized toe shoes are trembling in their tech wear at the chance to go die here. In fact, it's said about 100 or so have in the last decade or so, and the most recent being a selfie-taking college student in 2019. And death is a pretty easy goal to achieve here, seeing as the easiest part of the hike is literally a vertical staircase. After that, it's all chains bolted to mountainsides and literally toe holes to climb up. Most famously is its heart-stopping dangerous plank paths. Just some narrow and rickety 2x6s bolted onto the mountainside about 5,000 feet in the sky with no handholds, guardrails, or measures to ensure you don't, what is it now? Oh, plummet to your death. Thank God the path width is only 30 centimeters wide. I was worried it'd be too spacious. The sacred Mount of Husashan in northwest China, Shanghai province, has been a place of pilgrimage thanks to its mystical 5 peaks and Taoist temples. It's one of the 5 mountains at the legendary site, which doubles as the origin of all Chinese civilization. From the mountain high to the valley low, let's check out the Sedlak Ossuary. Cemetery Church of All Saints is already a spooky enough name, but when you walk in and hit the lights, it's like the Addams Family vampire and Elvira had a Halloween party together. Walls, floor, ceiling, all of it, it's all covered in elaborately decoupaged and arranged bones. The most stunning of which is probably the church's massive chandelier, which contains almost every bone found in the human body, and some creepy cherubs to brighten up the space. So, how'd this happen? Jesus dirt. Back in the early 1300s, an abbot of the Sedlak monastery brought back some holy soil from Jerusalem and scattered it in the church's cemetery. And suddenly everybody wanted to be buried in that sacred dirt sprinkle. Little problem, there's already a ton of people buried there first, keeping up all that new holy dirt for themselves, greedy skeletonized bastards. Well, anyways, the still living nutcases decided to literally evict the skeleton so new bodies could be buried there. And while everyone's completely cool with digging up grandma so they can have her eternal resting place, nobody wants to just toss her out either. So what do you do with a bleep ton of bones that carry sentimental value but not enough to still respect them? You put them on strings like popcorn at Christmas and decorate a church. And that, kids, is how 40,000 people ended up looking like IKEA furniture in an ossuary. I can't imagine anyone wanting to visit here of their own volition, but you can, so the Reno Konara is up next. When the gold deposits were initially discovered at the foot of the majestic Peruvian Andean glacier, the mine was taken over by a company that only had the men of the village work on it, since the men had to possess a high tolerance to the harsh temperatures that drop into the tunnels, which reached about -4 Fahrenheit. These courageous men were in search of gold, tackling a climb of over a half hour every day, all while breathing in rarefied air saturated with poisonous gases such as mercury. Now it's called Devil's Paradise and the most highly inhabited place on Earth with a population of 70,000 people, all illegally governed by criminals and local organizations that do not allow any foreign mining companies entry and have adopted an absurd payment system called cachorro, where workers are paid a salary of 0 and work 30 days straight for free, and on the 31st day, they get to dig for 3 hours straight and remove any material they find, and that gets to be theirs. The only source of drinking water in the city comes from a contaminated lake, and there's no waste disposal system, and the people are forced to live amongst garbage without electricity or sewage. There are no schools or hospitals, and the life expectancy of the population is 30 to 35 years old. So it's about half the average Peruvian citizen. People die slowly, devoured by lung diseases and respiratory infections that over a time affect the nervous system, causing deformation, memory loss, paralysis, and death. Next up is like if you have a fever dream in the Courage the Cowardly Dog reality, it's the Hapa Villa. I came across this on Reddit while coming up with location ideas, and I literally do not care that 1937 may not be historic, it's old enough and creepy enough to be on this list. Look at that. Tell me that makes you feel okay inside. Hapa Villa is 85-year-old theme park located in Singapore, and its intent is to be as much and as little like Disneyland as physically possible. I'd say mission achieved. Its colorful entrance of Chinese arches seems innocuous enough, but then you actually step inside and see that Hapa Villa has covered more than 1,000 statues, each worse than the last. And not only is it a family-friendly destination, but one that you can use to teach your kids about the perils of death in an underworld-themed 10 Counts of Hell statue museum. The dioramas portray severe modes of punishment and weird things like that, accompanied by a placard explaining the sin that warranted the demise. You'll find people getting sawed in half for the misuse of books, or dismembered for cheating on examinations, or even a statue that was thrown onto a hill of knives for the crime of lending money with an exorbitant interest rate. Only 18 bucks USD for a daytime pass, guys. Book your flights now. Let's roll on over to the enigmatic Trobans. Okay, so that's a mysterious name. And the makeup of these magic rocks is pretty mysterious too. Roughly 6 million years old, paleo-earthquakes created a type of geological phenomena called Trobans. This particular Troban is known as the stones of Costesti, or the living stones because, well, they're alive! Locals of Costesti, Romania have witnessed them grow, expand, and move over generations, and have turned into local legends and myths. But strange geological formations really grow. The answer is yes. For all intents and purposes, they do grow, but Trobans grow in a very specific, unique way. For example, during a heavy rainfall, a Troban will absorb minerals in the rain, and being formulated of layers of sand and sandstone deposits, a chemical reaction creates immense pressure and expands the Troban outward from the core to crust. Overall, the Troban's growth is rather a slow process, and the rate of growth is only about 4 to 5 centimeters in 1,000 years. This explains the layers geologists noticed within the Trobans when they cut it open, making Trobans ringed inside, not unlike a tree. Due to the fascinating nature of Trobans, they have become a tourist attraction within Romania. To give protection to these rocks, the Trobans Museum Natural Reserve was created in 2004, and they are under the protection of UNESCO, who have equipped a foundation to protect them from the issues tourism can cause, a public archaeological and geological site. And talking about weird rocks, how about a mountain that's spitting out stone eggs? Mount Gandang is in the remote old regions of China's Shu population, who have been living in this territory since before the Han Dynasty. And since before the Han Dynasty, the Shu have had a special name for a cliff wall there, Chandanya, aka the egg-laying cliff. Something it's been doing every 30 years like clockwork, and once the stone egg is released from the cliffside, it falls to the ground where it can be found by the first local who's lucky enough to stumble upon it. Of the stone eggs that have been retrieved, they range in size between 7 and 24 inches each. They have a dark blue hue, and they're almost perfectly smooth, making them able to reflect sunlight at certain angles once cleaned and polished. The largest of the stones that have ever been found weighed over 600 pounds. Since the discovery of their local egg-laying mountain, locals have reported over 100 eggs found at the base of the cliff, but their family stories of the phenomena have gone back for more than hundreds of years. Currently, about 70 of these stone eggs remain in the village and are shared amongst the families based on who found them first. The rest, they say, have either been sold or stolen. The formation of these mysterious stone eggs is still actually being researched. Based on current research, it's believed the eggs and the surrounding rock in this region were formed during the Cambrian period some 500 million years ago. Geologists theorize that this region was once underwater, which may have contributed to the formation of these egg-shaped rocks over time that are now getting spat out, I guess. Now over to India, where we try to understand what happened to Kultura. What was once a thriving Brahmins community renowned for advancements in agriculture and water management was one day bone dry and empty. Now it's up to us to decide, normality or curse. The Brahmins lived there for many years, until the 18th century that brought the monster of Jaisamar, aka Salim Singh, whose extortions and cruel demands, particularly his obsession with the daughter of the Kultura's chief, allegedly led to the mass abandonment of the village and several others nearby in order to save the girl's life. Before leaving, they supposedly put a curse on the village so it would remain uninhabited forever. Thanks to the curse, anyone who's tried to settle there after their departure would be doomed to misfortune and ultimate failure. Though the villagers left behind no concrete evidence for their actual real reasons of leaving, the rumors of the curse still persist to this day. Historians have proposed several potential reasons as to why the village of Kultura was actually abandoned. One reason is poor economic condition, or that Singh's cruelty and persecution may have resulted in financial hardship. It's also possible that the villagers were facing environmental factors such as drought, which would have made leaving inevitable. Since tourists won't bother listening to the locals begging us to stop visiting the island, it seems the island will handle the tourist problem itself. Next is Kalalau Trails. Kalalau Trails, which have often been rated America's most dangerous hike, and additionally the title of the most dangerous hike in Hawaii, consists of long and steep trails that gain over 6,000 feet of elevation right on the coast with rushing waters beneath. Daredevil hikers will be rewarded with gorgeous views of the Pacific Ocean, coastal cliffs, steep slopes of sleeping volcanoes, green valleys, and white sand coastlines, all along a 22-mile stretch hike. But keep in mind that this route is not only beautiful, but very dangerous. Hikers have to literally trudge through the jungle, cross mountain rivers that turn into deadly raging torrents after the rain, and escape from constant rock falls. Every year, hikers have been seriously injured or killed by being thrown off the narrow trails by waterfalls. The way to both ends of the trail takes 2 days and requires excellent physical preparation. But the greatest danger is posed by the beaches through which the trails passes. At first glance, they look welcoming, but the waves are very, very high and the undercurrents are strong. According to statistics, more than 100 tourists have died on the beach sections of the trails. The most dangerous of them is Hankapale. Shopping bags at the ready, y'all. We're visiting Akodesawa Fetish Market. Now, this is right up my alley. Located in the capital city of Loma, West Africa, Akodesawa is the world's largest voodoo market, and not for the faint of heart. Benin is said to be the birthplace of the voodoo religion. Not New Orleans or Haiti, who are also practitioners, run this market, which is a mecca to the local practitioners, and they travel there from all over the African continent. Many believers view the market as a kind of hospital or pharmacy. It's a place you go when you either cannot afford traditional treatment or traditional treatment has failed you. Here you can find talismans and charms good for treating everything from the flu or infertility to removing the blackest of curses. In the practice of voodoo, every single creature is potent and divine, whether alive or dead. And in Akodesawa Fetish Market, you may find them all. Monkeys, alligators, goats, leopards, gazelles, and many, many more in various stages of decay and stacked up in piles for blocks. The outdoor location doesn't quite suppress the stench, but at least the huge market is in the open air. Remember to pay your fee if you want to take any pictures. And of course, last but never least, here in home sweet home Canada is Nahani, the Headless Valley. Many have said that Nahani Valley is one of the last truly unexplored places in the world. It's in Northwest Territories of Canada, well over 311 miles from the nearest city, which is Yellowknife of all places. The origins of the nickname Headless Valley can be traced back to the early 20th century, at the time of the famous Klondike Gold Rush, when many would-be prospectors want to test their fortunes and head out into remote Canadian wilderness. Métis brothers, gang, the McLeods, canoe upriver to Nahani Valley, an unprospected territory, in 1906. They aren't seen again until their headless bodies are found in 1908. It was a particular death, alright, but the wheels didn't start turning until another corpse was discovered in 1917, decapitated, next to the remains of a burnt cabin. Then again in 1927, a man wanted by the Mounties is found beheaded on a creek bed. We got more though. 1931, a decapitated body is found in a burnt cabin. 1945, a miner from Ontario is found dead, still sleeping in his sleeping bag. His head, however, never found. And those are just the decapitation deaths. Bodies show up like crazy around here, and endless people remain missing in the territory. A woman named Annie Lefert went missing in Nahani in 1926. Many months later, a Dene man by the name Big Charlie claimed to have seen the woman climbing a hill while totally naked, having seemingly lost her mind. In the end, no one can accurately say what is transpiring within the mysterious Nahani Valley. Up to 44 known persons have either died or disappeared within it starting in 1908, and that is an eerily high number for just one, albeit enormous, valley. Probably would be less people if they had listened to the indigenous Dene locals who have avoided the valley for centuries, claiming it's haunted by evil. Alrighty, thank you so much for tuning in. I hope you enjoyed. Be sure to like and subscribe if you want to see more from us, and until next time, comment down below what kind of content you want to see from us next.